All right, let's jump right in. Mental strength. It's not about suppressing your emotions or acting like you're invincible. Not at all. It's really all about building up habits that give you resilience, clarity, and just a real sense of long-term well-being. And that's exactly what psychotherapist Amy Morin gets into in her incredible book, 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do. She takes all her years of clinical experience and even her own personal losses and distills it all into this super practical guide for mastering our emotional lives.
So the big question is, how do we actually do that? Well, in this explainer, we're going to group these powerful habits into a few key areas. That way you can really see how they build on each other, starting from the inside and working our way out. We'll kick things off by mastering our inner world, then we'll move on to navigating the outer world, and finally, we'll talk about building that long-term resilience.
So, let's get right to it. What is mental strength, really? It's not about being some kind of tough, emotionless robot. Instead, as Morin explains so well, it's a set of habits, things you practice, that build your resilience from the inside out. And that's the perfect place for us to start, by taking a good look at our inner world. Okay, first up, mastering our inner world. This is all about reclaiming your power over your thoughts and your past. This is so important because, honestly, this is where the foundation of all mental strength really gets built.
Let's start with a huge one. Mentally strong people don't waste time feeling sorry for themselves. It's such a tempting trap to fall into, right? Self-pity gives you this weird, twisted kind of comfort, where you get to be the victim in a world that's just not fair.
But Morin doesn't mince words. She calls self-pity exactly what it is, one of the most destructive emotional loops you can get stuck in. And you can see why. It's a vicious cycle that keeps you tangled up in the past, it blinds you to any new opportunities, and it just stops you from taking responsibility and moving forward.
So what's the alternative? Well, mentally strong people, they acknowledge their pain, but they don't get lost in it. First, they practice emotional acceptance, just saying, okay, this hurts. Then they move to cognitive reframing, thinking, but I get to choose how I respond to this. And finally, it's all about forward action, asking that simple, powerful question, what can I do next? You see, it all boils down to this one powerful shift. The moment you go from asking, why me, to asking, what now? That right there, that's the first real step toward taking back your personal power.
And that idea of reclaiming power, it leads us perfectly into our second habit. Mentally strong people don't give away their power. I mean, think about it. We did this all the time. We let someone else's bad mood or their opinions or what they do completely dictate how we feel.
And I absolutely love the way Morin reframes this. She says emotional boundaries aren't walls you build to keep people out. They're filters. It's such a brilliant way to think about it, isn't it? They let all the good stuff in, but they keep the toxic stuff out. It's about understanding that your self-worth comes from inside you. It's that fundamental shift from saying, you make me feel, to saying, I choose how I respond.
Another classic way we give away our power is by letting ourselves get chained to the past. And that brings us to the seventh habit. Mentally strong people don't dwell on the past. And this is so key. There's a world of difference between healthy reflection and toxic rumination. One turns your past into a teacher, the other turns it into a prison.
All right, so we've spent some time on our inner world. Now let's shift gears and look at how all this applies to navigating the outer world. How we deal with change, with other people, and with success.
So how do mentally strong people handle the world out there? Well, for starters, they don't shy away from change. We all know change feels uncomfortable. It kind of messes with our sense of stability. But Morin has this fantastic way of looking at it. Change is a muscle. The more you actually use it, the stronger it gets.
And she actually breaks this process down into 5 stages. It starts all the way back at pre-contemplation, where you're not even thinking about changing, and goes all the way through to maintenance, where it's just a part of your life. The really important thing to get here is that mentally strong people don't just leap straight to action. No, they move through these stages with intention, because they understand that feeling uncomfortable is just a sign that they're growing.
This naturally leads to a piece of wisdom that's, truly timeless. It's something the Stoics were talking about centuries ago. Mentally strong people do not waste energy on things they can't control. The whole game is just knowing the difference between what's in your hands and what's not.
Just think about it. How much energy do we waste worrying about stuff we have zero control over, like the weather or the traffic or what other people choose to do? It just drains you. Mentally strong people are masters at redirecting that energy toward the things they can control, their own effort, their own attitude, and their own boundaries. And making that shift, wow, it just gives you this incredible sense of empowerment and cuts down so much anxiety.
Okay, next up, and this is one I think a lot of us can relate to, they don't worry about pleasing everyone. So why do we do this? Well, it's usually rooted in fear, right? Fear of being disliked, fear of conflict. But man, the price you pay for being a people pleaser is huge. We're talking burnout, resentment, and eventually you lose sight of who you even are.
So here's the game-changing mindset shift. It's a deep understanding that being respected is way more important than just being liked. It means you have to get comfortable with saying no and not feeling guilty about it. It means speaking your mind, even when you know it might not be what everyone wants to hear.
And when you're focused on your own values, it totally changes how you see other people. Which brings us to number 9. They don't resent other people's success. Resentment really is like a poison. All it does is shift your focus from your own path to somebody else's. Instead, mentally strong people work on cultivating an abundance mindset. This core belief that there's plenty of success to go around for everybody.
Okay, so we've got the inner world and the outer world down. But how do we make this stuff stick for the long haul? Well, our final section is all about building that long-term resilience, and it really comes down to the habits of action, perseverance, and of course, patience.
So how do we actually build this resilience in practice? Well, it starts with changing how we think about risk. They don't fear taking calculated risks, and that word is so important, calculated. See, risk isn't the enemy here, being impulsive is. Mentally strong people don't try to avoid uncertainty, they learn how to manage it, because they know that's where all the growth happens.
So what happens when one of those calculated risks doesn't pan out? Well, that brings us to number 10. They don't give up after the first failure. Here's the thing. Failure is not a verdict, it's feedback. Morin does a beautiful job of reframing failure as just a natural part of mastering anything. Mentally strong people see it as a stepping stone, never a stop sign.
And finally, we come to number 13, which is maybe more important today than ever before. They don't expect immediate results. In our world of instant everything, patience is basically a superpower. Mental strength isn't built overnight. It's built through consistency, discipline, and tiny bits of progress, day after day. Mentally strong people learn to trust the process, even when they can't see the results just yet.
So, when you put it all together, where does this journey take us? What Amy Morin's book really gives us is a roadmap to emotional freedom. By actively working to eliminate these 13 self-defeating habits, we create more space for clarity, for confidence, and for a real sense of purpose.
So after all is said and done, after all these habits and new ways of thinking, what's the one thing you should really walk away with? It's this. Mental strength is not some destination you finally arrive at. It's definitely not about being perfect. It's about the daily, consistent effort. It all comes down to one simple, powerful idea: practice.